they've not done anything for me or anything for my community, or they can't get along, or it's them versus the mayor, or the mayor versus them. I think that's the wrong motivation for running for office. The one you just outlined is what I would think harbors a great potential for candidates who get elected with that motivation, to work together as a team to build not only Valleys, but to build the City of Greater Sudbury.
And I think I've got as much insight into the needs of the younger generation and the older generation. I don't have to be 30 to come up with youthful ideas.
Yes.
Youthful ideas are just different ideas, and ideas that are thinking outside the box. And sometimes you have to have been in a few boxes to be able to think outside the box.
Oh, absolutely.
I've been inside a few boxes.
Yes, but we've all had that experience, and some of us are very comfortable living inside the box because they take no chances. And so you can, what did somebody say? Pick the rut you want and work it, because you'll be in it till you collect your pension. And I just don't think that we need that kind of leadership.
I know.
And the other one is, of course, experience. I mean, you mentioned it. Experience is extremely important. If you've never offered yourself in the community, you've never done anything in the community, you never volunteered in the community, you never experienced working as part of a team in a community group, and suddenly out of the woodwork you come and say, it's time for a change. The change that, a real change that matters. What are you talking about, you know? So that's, to me, those are important aspects. On the meds and eds, when I was mayor, we, the council, identified a geriatric center. We recognized that the fastest growing demographic in terms of age was our seniors. And so we needed to, and we were having the practical experience of our ambulances waiting at the emergency to unload ALC patients.
I have witnessed that within the last month.
Okay,
Couldn't believe what I saw.
So the idea is, how do you tackle that problem? What can we do as a city? Healthcare is not a municipal responsibility. We could say that, right? We'd say, I'm not gonna do anything. I see no evil, I hear no evil, I speak no evil. Instead, we said, what can we do? So we can make a strategic investment in a geriatric center. And so we went out and hired Dr. Clark, and the rest is history. And so the geriatric center is at Pioneer Manor, and it's now the geriatric center for all of northeastern Ontario. And the whole idea of that concept is to try and keep older folk in their apartment, in their homes, longer.
Right.
So that was one. The other one was, of course, the School of Architecture. And I can't tell you how much we were committed to that as a council. We unanimously voted to make a $10 million investment in a School of Architecture in downtown Sudbury. Now, education is not a municipal responsibility constitutionally, it's a provincial responsibility. Yet we saw the opportunity to make a strategic investment, which we did. And I think meds and eds are, and I noticed for a while I was concerned that the present council was not going to make the investment in Americ, which is the research arm of our health center. And I wrote a letter to the editor saying this is a no-brainer here. This is the kind of investments we should be making, a $2 million investment in Americ. So I do believe that we have to. Now, at one time when I first came into Sudbury in 1962, Inco, and I was living in Coniston, and I was principal of the St. Paul's in Coniston, and Inco had 23,000 hourly rated employees, 23,000. Today, I think if they've got 2,300,
Yeah.
would be the maximum.
I think they've
So-
got fewer people employed now than they hired during the summer
Yeah,
for
so,
summer relief.
so you've got, the university probably has more employees, the hospital, the healthcare system has more employees, and the educational system has more employees than the mining companies.
Yep.
So that whole demographic has changed, that work demographic has changed. And so, those strategic investments are attracting a different class of people into the community. And so it's important for us to make the investments in performing arts centers, for example. Okay, that has nothing to do with me. It wasn't, and I resented this, but I never said anything. I kept quiet about it, Bob. It wasn't my heritage project. This is what the community needed. And the community needs 160,000 people. And we don't have a center for the performing arts. Okay, I mean,
Oh, I hear you.
so the concept is to make sure that you provided the infrastructure as you're attracting people and you're educating young people. Okay, there are opportunities for them to practice their culture. And there should be settings for that. So these are extremely important infrastructures that need to be. Cultural infrastructure is an economic driver. It drives the economy of the community. Similarly, recreational infrastructure drives the economy of the community. So we have to take a look at our recreation facilities. What is the state of our soccer fields? It's appropriate I'm mentioning this now during FIFA in Brazil, the best team, the team that will win the World Cup.
You're
Right?
making a prediction, are you? Yeah.
Yeah, what are you saying?
No, I'm
You don't
still-
agree with me?
I'm still waiting for the Toronto Maple Leafs to win the Stanley Cup, so I'm not a good one to talk about.
Well, you're a dreamer.
Yes, I'm a dreamer. Maybe that's what, good point.
But what is the state of our arenas? We have to make some important decisions. What decision do we make about a new arena? How does that fit into the complement of arenas we have in the core of the city?
And we are seeing a movement, because they've done a recent study that with the recreation and leisure plan, that is showing that, and it's showing very clearly that there is a shift towards family activities, outdoor activities such as cycling and walking and swimming and playgrounds, that a lot of the generation today wants to get involved in participation activities as
Sure.
opposed to spectator activities. And as a council, then you're sitting there saying, we have to make sure that we're creating the infrastructure that people are moving toward, and at the same time make sure we cannot avoid our responsibilities to that segment that wants to participate on these facilities. Well, I'm thrilled that we now have a hockey team at Laurentian University. It was awful not to have a hockey team at our university in Northern Ontario. So
Yeah.
it's important, but we can't avoid this new move that the society seems to be going towards, families trying to spend as much time as they can together because they're separate so much.
Well, that brings us to the question of the other facility we wanted to build, which was a multi-use recreation facility, as you recall.
Yeah.
Now, again, I'm not gonna get into the details of the political machinations that went into destroying those two concepts. But we hadn't even presented the business plan, and we weren't expecting, as a council, we weren't expecting the taxpayers to pick up the capital cost of all of those buildings.
No.
We hadn't even started to approach, though, I had in mind to approach the private sector to see if we can do partnerships in the capital expenditures for those two buildings, for those two facilities. And we never got around to it, because I do believe that politics played a part in that whole process. And I won't get into that.
No.
But we moved on.
Yeah.
We moved on, and moving on, we put the second pad on Countryside.
Yeah.
After 16 years,
Yeah.
we finally put the second pad on Countryside. And, I mean, economics show that having no community builds a single pad arena anymore.
No.
It's two or more pads.
Revenue producer.
And also economics operating the building, right, the facility. So that seems to me the way to go in terms of looking at the inventory of facilities. I do remember, I vividly remember, I don't know if you were in Valley East at the time, but I was teaching at Immaculate Conception in Botcanon. And City Council, Valley East Council, was wanting to build the rec center, which is now the Howard Armstrong Center.
I was there.
And lo and behold, this group came out of the woodwork demanding that that we not spend the money, because it would become a white elephant and the taxpayers would end up with a very costly facility to maintain. Well, thank heavens, the council of the day, led by Tiger Armstrong, and I give him full credit, and he stood his ground and said, no, we're gonna build it. And he was the only one who lost his seat.
He was the only
Is
one.
this a significant?
Yeah, we've already had that discussion at a public meeting at the Howard Armstrong Recreation Center.
And today, the Howard Armstrong Recreation Center is a jewel in Valley East.
Yeah, it is, and it's doing what it was set out to do.
And serving seniors.
It's serving seniors, and
Remember? I mean, I remember that.
There was there was a split in the community. There was a split in neighborhoods. There was a split in families.
Yeah.
It was a tough battle.
And you had courageous councillors and the leader, Howie, and he stood his ground. Now, and I wasn't here at the time, but go back in history to 1951, when Maxie Silverman was mayor and wanted to build the arena that we've got downtown. And there were picketers picketing against building the arena. So if you understand the course of history, you're doomed to repeat it if you don't know your history.
Yeah. You really have to get to know the silent majority, don't you?
Well, but you need leaders with backbones, not wishbones.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you need councillors and you need leaders who are prepared to see the vision.
Yeah.
And when you plan together, which is what we did as a council when I was mayor, we planned together. And once you commit to this overall vision of where you want the city to go, then as issues come up, you always view them in light of the vision.
I like the way you put that, and I think what we can do is take a quick break and come back and talk about that whole idea of planning together and forming this vision together, and not following the vision of a person who happens to get elected as mayor. That it has to be there are 13 people around that table, and they're all basically mayors of their own little community, and that whole concept of having to be able to plan that vision together and then work toward the other, I think that's a critical challenge that any mayor is going to be faced with in the future. And I think when we come back, we can start taking a look at that. You know, how do you build that, and then you know, wrap up in the next 15, 20, 30 minutes. You know, some of the major things you want to talk about now, so that we'll have a good solid foundation for moving forward. So, but I think that this whole idea of we're going to do it together. I'm not going to tell you what you have to do to follow me, but we're going to plan together.
That's to
It's
key element of leadership,
It's true.
you know?
But I think it's something that has to be
Good,
addressed.
let's take a pee.
So we're gonna take a break.